trouble, Mrs. Fernig? I was told you wanted to see me.
Yes. Yes, I did call you. Oh, please, sit down. You were so helpful when the dogs chased Matilda May up the ginkgo tree. Do you remember that?
I was a patrolman.
That was my Maltese cat. But this has nothing to do with Matilda. Something has happened to the neighborhood. Cars go up and down the street at all hours, slamming on their brakes. I just can't get any rest anymore.
And you called me because you were bothered by the traffic?
No. No, it isn't exactly that. I'm frightened at the strange men prowling around. Some of them are drunk, and they shout under my window in the middle of the night. Oh, I know how it sounds. An old woman living alone, afraid of her own shadow. But it's true. I am frightened.
I don't know about you, but I think those prowlers are in her head.
Yeah, I know, but she's such a sweet old doll. Let's see what the neighbors have to say. I'll take that side of the street, huh?
Right. I beg your pardon, ma'am. I'm a police officer. Wonder if you'd mind giving me some help.
I'm a police officer. Have you noticed any strange men hanging around the neighborhood?
Yes, who is it?
Police officer. I speak to you?
Come in. I'm sorry, but my husband isn't home.
Well, actually, it's you I want to talk to.
Why? What do you want from me?
I have a few questions I want to ask you. We have a complaint from one of your neighbors.
Don't tell me to take it easy. I have every right to yell my head off. I came home after 5 days to find my wife in a highly emotional state. She was hysterical. I said to her, Barbara, what's the matter? What's wrong? You know, she didn't want to tell me at first. She was too ashamed. Can you understand that?
It would help if I could hear from you, Mrs. Laney.
Tell me, how does a sex maniac get on the police force, huh? That's what I'd like to know.
I didn't sleep too well last night because of a headache. So I was taking a nap this afternoon. The door chimes woke me. I thought Frank had forgotten his keys. So I slipped on a robe. The man said he was a police officer. That's the only reason I opened the door.
What else did he say?
He wanted to come in and look around. I was too groggy to ask why. He kept staring at my robe.
So this is the kind of man we're supposed to look to for protection, huh?
Let her finish.
He said he'd seen me in the neighborhood, shopping at the supermarket. He described my clothes and said they showed off my figure. He was very explicit. And then he said he knew my husband was a salesman and was out of town.
See? He had it planned. He knew she'd be alone.
He put his hands on me. He tore my robe. He tried to force me into the bedroom. I screamed. The woman next door heard me and came to see what was wrong.
And the woman next door is a witness. She saw him.
Yes, she saw him. Her name is Mrs. Kendall, Amy Kendall.
All right. Now that you've got the whole dirty story, what are you going to do about it?
What time do we leave there?
I make it about 5:30.
5:30.
What's happening with that report?
Still on the typewriter. I haven't finished it.
We've been out on a long haul.
Beautiful, Corso. Just beautiful. What's the matter, Lieutenant?
What did he tell you about this screaming woman, Mrs. Laney?
He said she was some kind of a nut.
Why didn't you investigate?
Well, we were already out of the neighborhood when he told me about it.
I just didn't think it was that important.
You mean you just didn't think? The captain ordered a lineup. I want you in it.
Yes, I see him.
Take your time. You gotta be sure.
I'm sure. The tall one with the light hair.
Do you recognize him, Mrs. Kendall?
He's the one in the middle.
You positive?
Absolutely. He's the one.
You gotta be kidding.
Well, it looks like I'm kidding. Mrs. Laney made the allegation. Both she and her neighbor picked you out of the lineup. The identification is positive, and you're it.
You can't be. It's crazy. I swear I never touched her. I've been framed. Never heard that before.
Well, it may be crazy, but it's happening. We have a procedure to follow.
I don't know the woman.
Procedure? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, sir.
The commissioner ordered your suspension.
No.
Well, what else could he do, Johnny? You've been accused of a crime. You're up for indictment before the grand jury. You could go to jail.
I didn't do anything. Don't you believe me?
Now, cut it out. You know better than that. I'm doing what I have to do. Give me your shield, your gun, and your ID.
I'm Captain Parnell from the Commissioner's Confidential Investigating Unit. I have a few questions, Mr. Corso. Of course, you know that anything you tell me here can be used in evidence against you. It's your right to consult an attorney if you wish.
Yes, sir. I know my rights. I just want to tell my side of the story. Don't think you're going to get a confession out of me because I didn't do it.
Why did she scream?
I don't know. I just walked in the door. I never seen her before in my life.
Did she seem to be under the influence of alcohol, drugs?
I couldn't tell. I don't think so.
What did you do when she began to scream?
Well, I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen to anything I said. She just kept yelling, and then the woman from next door came in.
Oh, that would be the witness, Mrs. Kendall.
When I first heard the screaming, I thought it was television. Then I recognized Barbara's voice, and I ran next door and found her struggling with a man.
How do you mean struggling? Was he hitting her?
He was embracing her. Barbara's robe was torn, and she was trying desperately to get away from him.
Were you touching her?
No, sir. I never touched her.
Did you identify yourself to Mrs. Kendall?
He said he was a police officer. And that's not all he said. His language was coarse and abusive. I had to tell him to shut his foul mouth.
She told me that Mrs. Laney hadn't been feeling well. The way she said it, I figured Mrs. Laney for a head case.
Did you offer to go for a doctor?
She said it wouldn't be necessary. Said Mrs. Laney'd be all right after she had some sleep and a tranquilizer.
And you were satisfied to leave it at that?
But to tell you the truth, I just wanted to get out of there.
Why did you wait till her husband came home? Why didn't you report it right away?
Because your detective threatened us. He said if we told anybody about it, if we reported him, that he'd have us both arrested as prostitutes.
He never said it. He wouldn't make a threat like that if his life depended on it. I know him.
And why did she say?
To frame him.
Why?
Look at this mess. They're having a circus.
You didn't answer my question. I asked you why.
I don't know.
But you will agree it is a good question.
What do we know about these women? I mean, they're just a couple of housewives, right?
Well, we know that Mrs. Laney is married and Mrs. Kendall is divorced. No children. Oh, yeah, we know one other thing.
What's that?
That if Corso is telling the truth, both these ladies are lying through their teeth. Well, don't stand there looking at me. Go on out and dig.
Excuse me. Investigation. I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Well, I don't know.
I understand you're a neighbor of Mrs. Frank Laney and Mrs. Amy Kendall.
Yes, I live just down the street. What about it? We moved here only a year ago from Indiana, so I think you better talk to someone.
Could you tell me something about them? Are they quiet, friendly?
Well, what you call them, friendly. Not to, you know, overly, but the way most people are. Why?
It's just routine. Would you happen to know if...
All I know is that they're decent and respectable ladies. Now I gotta get a dinner on, so if you'll excuse me.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
One more. Try one more. Find another angle.
Sir, excuse me, sir.
You know, the grand jury will probably call you in as a witness.
Great. I'm ready. The only trouble is, there's not much I can tell him that'll do Johnny any good.
What about Mrs. Laney? What do the neighbors say about her?
Well, most of them don't know her, which is par for the course in this town. I dug up a few who see her around, say hello to her once in a while, but you know, as far as they're concerned, she's just a nice lady.
How's Johnny? Did you talk to him?
How good can he be? He's taking the fall for something he didn't do. Have you heard anything about when the grand jury hearings begin?
Yeah. The early part of next week.
Nice going, John. Thanks. How's it feel?
Well, after sweating it out for 5 weeks, I don't know. Hey, Wayne. Jeff, did you hear the grand jury refused to indict me? I'm in the clear.
Hey, what happened?
I don't know. I guess they didn't buy a story, but I'm not asking questions.
Hey, it's great, Johnny. Congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, great. Whoopee. Only saved the confetti. You still have to face the trial commission.
This changes everything.
This doesn't change anything. What are you, a civilian? You can go back to work and forget about it? You're a police officer on suspension. The degree of proof is different with the jury, and you know it. You're not off the hook till the department clears you. I'll tell you what you can do. Don't prove you didn't do something. Prove you didn't take Mrs. Laney in your arms and try and rip her clothes off.
You know it, Lieutenant. You know I was framed.
Prove it. And if you don't, you better start looking for another job. Because you're through as a detective.
Why is she doing it? Okay, so I'm out of a job, so what? So I start again, fresh. Except why is she doing it? Yeah, fresh, someplace else. Why? What's she after? Small town, big fish. Oh, man, am I ever running away? She's wiping you out. No? Gonna beat this. Not gonna let her get away with it. She's gotta tell me why. Why?
Laney, I want to talk to you.
Go away.
Why me?
Let me alone.
That's all I want. You tell me why. Why did you lie?
Get out of my way.
I'm not going to stand by and let this happen. You tell me the truth. Hey, buddy, what is it with you? It's all right, mister.
Make him stay away from me, please.
She doesn't think it's all right. Now beat it. Mister, keep out of this. I'm a police officer. Yeah?
Lenny.
Prove it. I'm waiting, buddy. Okay, this one on. Talk to her for a minute. You know you can be run in for impersonating a cop. Now beat it. Go ahead, lady. He won't bother you. Now, wait a minute. Now get out of here. Take a walk. Now get out of here.
I don't know. Maybe Corso was right in the first place. Maybe she is a mental case.
Oh, I covered that. Her medical history shows no record of emotional or mental distress.
And then there's a Kendall woman. They both couldn't be off balance. The average housewife and the typical neighbor next door.
You don't believe that?
Well, show me otherwise. So the trials commissioner. And do it fast because he goes to trial the day after tomorrow.
That doesn't give us much time.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm afraid Johnny Corso's going to get it right in the neck. There's nothing we can do about it.
All because of an old lady and her imaginary prowlers.
I want to talk to someone on the Commissioner's Confidential Investigating Unit. I'll hold on. You know someone we overlooked, Jeff? We overlooked a little old lady.
Milk or lemon?
I'll take a twist. Lemon, please.
Lieutenant Haynes, how do you like your tea?
Straight.
It's oolong. I hope you like it.
Oh, it's great. That's great. Thanks.
Yes, thank you. Now, Miss Frank, this is a charming place you have. Too bad the neighborhood gets so noisy at times.
Oh, he told you about my little problem.
Well, that's why I'm here.
You know, they never sent a lieutenant before. And I was thinking only this morning of calling you people.
Why, Mrs. Vernick?
It's that disturbance. It started again.
As bad as last time?
Oh, worse. All that coming and going and those men lurking around. Really, it's terrifying.
This disturbance, when did it stop the last time?
The very day that Detective Wood and his nice friend came to see me. That was weeks ago.
And it all stopped? The strange men in the neighborhood, the drunks, the cars?
Oh, it's been very peaceful all these weeks. And then it started again. Full blast.
When? When did it start? I mean, what day?
Well, let me see. I believe it. I'm sure of it. It started the day before yesterday.
Miss Frank, may I use your telephone?
Oh, surely. It's in the hall on the stand.
Got something?
I'll let you know in a minute. Oh, excuse me.
You're not eating your cookies. Don't you like cinnamon?
This is Lieutenant Haynes, New York Police Department. You have a salesman working for you by the name of Frank Laney. Well, I'd like to know whether he's on the road or not. He did. 2 days ago. I'd like to come in and talk to you if I may. About asking Mr. Laney to come home immediately. Boy, what a pistol.
What's that?
When that Kendall woman said Johnny threatened with a prostitution charge, she got us a little off balance. I hate to admit it, but that's where we've been ever since.
Are you trying to tell me that she and Mrs. Laney aren't your average lint-picking housewife?
The old lady cubed me when she said the disturbances stopped right after you and Johnny went to see her.
Yeah, they stopped because they thought the heat was on.
Well, maybe that's where they started in the first place. The traffic jam to Laney and Kendall.
If we're right, it all could have started again because enough time had passed. And they thought they were in the clear.
Don't forget our indignant hero, Mr. Laney. Remember, he went back on the road.
Oh, yeah. How'd you make out with his boss?
Oh, he beats and screamed a little, but he finally decided to call him back.
What do we do?
Well, Jeffrey, as my old father used to say, we might just put the cat in with the chickens.
If he got the 6 o'clock plane, he ought to be here by now.
We'll wait.
Why don't we call our lieutenant? We know what she's up to. We've got the warrant.
The husband's a screamer. He won't be able to make it stick, but he'll yell frame up. I can do without that. Here we go.
It's your house, Mr. Laney. Don't bother to ring. Just walk on in. Attaboy.
You know what to do.
In back. He'll kill him.
You're okay, mister. I'm a police officer. Now tell Mr. Laney what you were doing in his house.
All I wanted was a good time. I met a guy in a bar. He sent me here. I'm not the only one. He sent lots of guys. I didn't mean any harm. I mean, what did I do?
My own wife!
I'll show you all the clothes hanging in the back of my closet and the jewelry hidden in the dresser.
Stop it! Shut up!
Don't you want to know how long it's been going on? Since we moved here. Since I met Amy.
Shut up!
She has connections. You were always gone. Why didn't you stay home?
She's lying! She's lying! Can't you tell she's lying?
Of course I am. I lied about the detective, didn't I?
That's how it was. Barbara Laney and Amy Kendall were a part of a prostitution ring that recruited housewives. We picked the guy up in the bar who did the steering, and he talked his head off.
Mrs. Laney must have figured that I was there to arrest her.
Sure. She jumped to a conclusion, the wrong one. Mrs. Kendall tried to smooth it over, but Barbara was hysterical by the time her husband got home. And in the torn robe...
So she told him the big lie.
It was too late to back out. Mrs. Kendall had to go along with her. She figured it was a good way to get Johnny to shut up in case he really got a hold of something.
Give us a minute, will you, Jeff?
Sure.
The order came through from the commissioner. You're back on the payroll.
Finally. It's all over.
Who said so?
You said so.
I said you were reinstated. But it's not over till I straighten you out. Sit down, I want to talk to you. I want you to listen to what I have to say, and I don't want you to forget it. You handled this wrong from the start. You should have made an attempt to clear yourself, and the woman screamed. You should have brought in Ward and taken statements from both women in front of witnesses before they had a chance to cook up a story. Instead, you walked away from it. You're going back to see Mrs. Laney. That wasn't a good move either.
Next time, I'll do better.
Well, you're lucky you got it next time. Only don't depend on luck. From now on, you better be one good policeman. Yes.
Don't let it bother you too much. But don't forget it. Thanks, Chief.